Thank you. Thank you for sticking around this late. This talk is about accessibility and the benefits of inclusive design. This talk has three parts. First, I'm going to tell you why you should care about accessibility. Second, I'm going to tell you how to design with accessibility in mind. And third, I'm going to tell you how you can personally benefit from accessibility, even if you do not have a disability or an impairment. And we're going to do all of this in under 10 minutes. My name is Felix. I am a software engineer at Iteratech. We are a consultancy/agency based in Germany. We also have a branch here in Austria. We build cool stuff for other companies, mainly in the automotive and logistics sector. Now, why should you care about accessibility? Well, first of all, it affects a whole lot of people, 1.6 billion to be precise, according to the World Health Organization. And on top of these 1.6 billion, there are even more people who are using accessibility features, even though they do not depend on them. This startup founder figured that 20% of his teenage users were actually using an increased font size, even though we can assume they probably have good eyesight and they don't need to, but it turns out especially Android users love to customize everything, including the font and the font size. So how do we actually design with accessibility in mind? And whenever we have the opportunity to start from scratch, to start something new, we can use inclusive design. And inclusive design means instead of designing a product and then figuring out how it might work for people with disabilities, we design a product that works for everyone, including people with disabilities. Now, I admit this is a bit vague and not really actionable advice, but I got you covered. For that, we have the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, also known as WCAG for short. If you're not familiar with them, I highly recommend to check them out. They are the standard, basically. And unfortunately, we do not have the time to get into detail what's in there, but I'll give you one example of what you'll find in there. And that's semantic HTML. You probably have heard that you should always use proper HTML tags for what you're doing. So if you're building a navigation, use a nav tag. But unfortunately, with modern front-end frameworks, it's really easy to build something that looks more like this, so a bunch of generic divs and spans that don't really mean anything. And to a visual user, this might be the same, but for a screen reader, it's really hard to understand what's going on with the example on the left. Now, how can you personally benefit from accessibility, even if you don't have a disability or an impairment? And for that, let's take a step back from technology and from computers and talk about the bendy straw. Now, the bendy straw is this type of straw design that was invented in the 1930s by Joseph Friedman. And he came up with the design because his daughter had trouble drinking from a straight drinking tube. So he invented the flexible straw. And he sold the straw to hospitals and to people lying in bed sick because he thought that's what's good for. And I find it a bit funny from today's standpoint because it's just a straw and it's obviously the superior design to just a straight tube. And you wouldn't think that this is a medical device. Earlier today, Ken showed us there are some issues with YouTube. I want to give YouTube some credit for what they have done with captions. Now, captions were invented for people with hearing impairments, obviously, so they can understand what's going on in a video. And YouTube has found a really cool way to utilize captions. When you hover over one of these thumbnails, the video starts to play with captions, but without sound. So you can get a peek into the video, and the sound doesn't always start to play when you hover over one of these thumbnails. I think that could be a bit annoying. So yeah, that's a really cool feature, I think, and it shows how you can utilize accessibility features and make them work for everyone and give everyone a benefit from it. So another way you can benefit from accessibility is you don't get sued if you build accessible apps. Now, there might not be a law in your country. There is one in Austria, by the way. But these laws are becoming more and more strict, and there are new laws coming. For example, for the European Union, there's one coming into force in 2025, and these laws basically all say implement WCAG. And I have a feeling that a lot of business owners, a lot of corporations in the European Union in 2025 will look a bit like this. No one saw it coming. Nobody warned them that they have to do this accessibility thing. So I'm here now to tell you it is coming in just 2 years. So I hope I can appeal to you to start implementing accessibility to make the internet a more inclusive place. Thank you.